going on, everyone? Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about an all-pro offensive tackle that was linked to the Browns, and then we're going to unpack ESPN's running back rankings and see where they put Nick Chubb. Now, before we get to all that great stuff, I do want to make a quick announcement here on the channel. I'm going to be hosting a meet and greet Thursday, August 1st, around noon, somewhere in Cleveland. So I want to know from everyone watching that's either living in Cleveland or lived in Cleveland or has been in Cleveland, what's your favorite sports bar there that we can host this awesome meet and greet at? And if you live in the area, please mark your calendars. Come hang out with me Thursday, August 1st at around noon, somewhere in Cleveland, location TBD. We'll pick some of the bars or one of the bars that's commented down below. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes of today's show. As David Bakhtiari was recommended / suggested by Bleacher Report, along with the Kansas City Chiefs, as a potential suitor for the Browns. Now, unfortunately, the former All-Pro offensive tackle has been largely unavailable, which I like to say is the best availability over the last 3 seasons. He has only played in 13 out of 51 possible games. That's just 25% since 2021. And in that 3-year span, 2 of those 3 seasons, he only played 1 game. So when you look at 25%, that's not really the most accurate number to describe the last 3 seasons, where one season he played 11 games and the other 2 seasons he played 1 game each. But when he's on the field, he's one of the best offensive tackles in football. There's no denying that. Here's what Christopher Knox, though, wrote about Bakhtiari and the Browns. Bakhtiari would be worth a flyer for the Cleveland Browns, who lost Jedrick Wills, Jack Conklin, and Dwan Jones to season-ending injuries last season. Wills has also failed to establish himself as a top-tier left tackle, so it would behoove the Browns to see if Bakhtiari can fill that role in 2024. When I see takes and opinions like that from national media outlets that talk about a specific team for just a brief period in an article, that to me just screams you're out of touch with the Browns. And I'm not going to be too harsh on Christopher that, because he does not follow the Browns closely. Like, he's not a Cleveland Browns reporter. He's not a fan of the team. But the reality is the national perception and even a little bit of the fan perception on Jed Wills and the team perception on Jed Wills are miles apart. The Browns are not interested in finding a new starting left tackle. They picked up Jed Wills' 5th-year option. They added 4 void years onto his contract, which I believe will be filled with actual years of service. Why do they do all that? Because they think Jed Wills is a starting left tackle in this league. Now, you may not like that, and I can understand why. Like, last year, it wasn't the best start to the season. He ended on a bit of a high note before going down in that Cardinals game. Look at the last 4 weeks before he suffered a season-ending knee injury, and he was playing some really solid football. Has Jed Wills looked like a franchise Joe Thomas caliber left tackle, 10th overall pick? No. But guys, I've got some maybe tough news for you. The Browns like Jedrick Wills, and actions speak louder than words. And everything the Browns have done so far reinforces that. Picked up his 5th-year option. They could have just let him go. But no, they invested a whole bunch of guaranteed money into him. Restructured his contract by adding 4 void years to his deal. You wouldn't add 4 void years to a player's contract that you don't think you could at least extend and then fill in those ghost years of a contract with actual years of service. And I also want to add that Jed Wills, if I'm going to just kind of be a defender for him for a second, he's kind of had a rough go of it in terms of who he's been lining up with. Like, look at the offensive line. Joel Petonio, future Hall of Famer, all-pro left guard. Ethan Posick took over from J.C. Treader, and both guys have been top 10 centers as long as Jed Wills has been in Cleveland. Wyatt Teller, Pro Bowl guard. Jack Conklin, all-pro right tackle. He's lining up next to 2 all-pro players and Pro Bowl players mixed in. Of course, someone's going to look the worst when you're not lining up to those guys. Like, if Jed Wills was on most other teams, he'd be one of their best offensive linemen. But because he's on the Browns' offensive line, which is just littered with Pro Bowls and All-Pros recognitions, like, he's going to stick out in a bad way. But I don't think Jed Wills has shown us that he is a top 10 left tackle in this league. But I do think he has shown us that he can be a reliable starter. And I don't think the Browns are hunting for a new starting left tackle. Now, if Jedrick Wills' knee surgery and recovery, takes a turn for the worse, which I don't think it is because he was participating in spring practices in a limited basis, then sure, maybe they bring in David Bakhtiari. But for now, I would say that's got like a one Bernie head chance of happening. So I'll turn it over to you guys, though. Should the Browns add an offensive tackle? DeJuan Jones is back on the field. Jedrick Wills, I think, will be back on the field when training camp opens up. And I think we'll see Jack Conklin back on the field in September. So, to me, I think the Browns are pretty confident in their 3 starting tackles, all recovering from knee surgeries. Plus, they've got Hakeem Adeniji, who they added in free agency. So they got some other good pieces on the depth side of things for the offensive tackle position. And I don't think Bakhtiari is interested in signing with a team where he has to compete for the starting job. At this point, he's probably going to wait till the middle of training camp. And if a team loses their starting left tackle, he'll step in and fill a big hole for them for the start of the season. All right, before we get on to the rest of today's show, I do want to show some love to some recent super thanks that have come in. Has been the MVP of the month of July so far, month of July, of the entire summer so far during our live shows every Tuesday and Friday. Ray Bidding continues to be a monster in the Super Thanks column, so shout out to you, Ray, Joshua Miller, Ben Broski. Thank you to everyone who supports the channel with Super Thanks. If you'd like to leave a Super Thanks, it's the heart icon kind of below my fingers right now with the $ in the middle of it. Greatly appreciated, no pressure whatsoever. But if you want to get a shout out, leave a Super Thanks and we'll throw it on screen for everyone to see. All right, next up on the show, I want to talk about ESPN's running back rankings, see where they put Nick Chubb, and if it was a fair and accurate ranking for Chubb. Now, before we get to that great stuff, I do want to tell all of our wonderful viewers about our great sponsor today, which is Mando. Summer is not only here, but we are approaching the hottest point of the summer. And I don't want you guys embarrassing yourself because you're not smelling your best because of all the sweat you're producing. Mando Whole Body Deodorant will be your best friend this summer. Mando is clinically proven to control odor for 72 hours. It's safe for the whole body, pits, package, feet, and everywhere in between. It also stops odor before it starts. And it's available in 4 cologne quality scents: Bourbon Leather, Mount Fuji, Pro Sport, and Clover Woods. Now, I love using Mando because I walk to work. And so in the hot Dallas summer, I'm going to work up a bit of a sweat during my 30-minute walk. But I've got Mando waiting for me on my desk to kick that kick that odor to the curb. So get started with Mando today, and you can get $5 off their starter pack when you use code CHAT. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. Now, like I said, I've got a $5 discount code when you use code CHAT at shopmando.com. Go to shopmando.com and use code CHAT to get $5 off their starter pack. That equates to over 40% off their entire starter pack. I put all this information because I like you guys in the comments and description of today's video. So go check out Mando today and smell good throughout the entire summer thanks to Mando Whole Body Deodorant. Let's get into the ESPN running back rankings. I'll read through them, and then we can start to have a bit of a debate/conversation. At number 1, it is 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey. Then Breece Hall from the Jets at 2. Nick Chubb clocking in at 3, ahead of Saquon Barkley and Jonathan Taylor. At 6, it is the second-year man from the Atlanta Falcons, Bijan Robinson. At 7, it's the new Green Bay Packer, Josh Jacobs. Jahmyr Gibbs, another NFC North running back, coming in at 9. Derrick Henry in his first season with the Ravens. And then finally at 10, it is the Jaguars running back Travis Etienne. So seeing Chubb at 3, I'll just say I'm not triggered by that. I know when these rankings come out during the slow portion of the offseason, fan bases can get a little bit worked up and they feel like their player is disrespected. Guys, to be number 3 at any position group is a really great accomplishment. So I don't look at that as like, oh, there they go again, disrespecting Nick Chubb. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Chubb is approaching 30 years old. He's coming off a major knee injury, and they have him at 3. That says a lot about the way this league thinks about Nick Chubb. So McCaffrey and Breece Hall, they slide in just ahead of Chubb. I've got no qualms with putting Christian McCaffrey at number 1. Yes, he won me my fantasy league last year. No one cares about my fantasy league. Breece Hall could be up for debate a little bit more. He's a really good receiving back, 591 receiving yards. I believe that led all running backs last season, and he was 6 yards short of the 1,000-yard benchmark. Now, I want to share what an anonymous AFC source had to say on Nick Chubb. He would be number one for me if healthy. Even though I'm not sure how he's going to look, he deserves to be high. And then another source said, even if he's lacking some explosion in the short term, he still has instincts and good feet. Hopefully that shines through and he gets his power back. He's such a good player. I'll just say, like some of these sources have kind of been pointing at, I'm buying my Nick Chubb stock. I know that coming off a major knee injury later on in your career is just not an easy thing to bounce back from. Like, not to go apples to apples here, but Odell Beckham Jr. is kind of a good example of that, right? Tears his ACL with the Browns, comes back the next year, looking a little shaky, goes to the Rams, starts to have a little bit of a resurgence, tears his ACL in the Super Bowl, and last year with the Ravens, he was mostly just doing cardio for them. But to me, I think Nick Chubb is someone that you can bet on bouncing back because I know it's a cliche. He's Batman. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. Nick Chubb is one of the best athletes pound for pound in the National Football League and probably in the country. So if there is someone that's going to attack rehab like Nick Chubb, if there's someone that's going to attack rehab, it's Nick Chubb, and he's going to knock it out of the park. Nick Chubb, by the way, just to, slurp on him for a second, he is third in the NFL history books for career running back average with a minimum of 500 attempts, 5.3 yards a carry. Those types of numbers you look at and you go, man, every time Nick Chubb got the football, he just brought you half the way you needed to go to get a first down. Gave him the ball twice, first down every single time. Not quite that way, but still. Nick Chubb ranking third behind Bo Jackson and Jamal Charles. Nick Chubb is going to go down as one of the most, I don't say underappreciated running backs, because I do think he is appreciated well, but I don't think he probably got enough roses and flowers that he deserved for how dominant he has been since joining the league in 2018. If I had to rank the running backs, here's where I would put them. I'd put Christian McCaffrey at 1. I don't think you can dethrone him after what he did last year. I'm going to put Barkley at 2. I think we're going to learn this year how much Saquon Barkley was held back by just a truly putrid and horrendous offensive line in New York, and he still was able to put up really good numbers throughout his time in the Meadowlands. Go to Philly with that offensive line. I think we're going to see truly how dominant Saquon can be. I've got Chubb at 3. You can make an argument to put him at 2, but I'll respect the fact that Barkley's coming off a really strong season. He comes into the year healthy. We got to wait and see a little bit with Chubb, but I'm still buying my Nick Chubb stock. I've got Breece Hall at 4. How about Kyren Williams being excluded altogether from that list? The guy put up over 1,000 yards last year, and he only played about 2/3 of the season. You give him a full season, he could have been your NFL rushing leader a year ago. I've got Bijan at 6. I'm going to put Jonathan Taylor at 7. Back-to-back seasons with less than 1,000 yards, and it's not like he was like 5 yards away. Like, he really wasn't even all that close. I need to see it to believe it again for JT. I've got Jahmyr Gibbs at 8. He was such a dual threat back last year in year 1 for the Lions. I think he's only going to get better in year 2. I'll also toss in Isaiah Pacheco at number 9. I think Pacheco is, I wouldn't say a criminally underrated, but I do think he's one of the better running backs out there, and he is just such a powerful bruising back. And then finally, I'll give the nod to King Derrick Henry. Even though history is against him with going over the age of 30, if there's someone who's going to give the middle finger to Father Time, it's probably Derrick Henry. So let me ask you this question. Is Nick Chubb a top 3 running back? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no down in the comment section. I think he is, but I do want to know what you have to say down below. All right, we will conclude our video today with a random card selection. We got producer Jack Lauderay helping us out this Monday morning, afternoon, whenever you're watching this. Jack, which card do you want to go with?
7 of hearts.
7 of hearts? Okay, I'm going to go with the 2 + 4 for Nick Chubb, 6 of spades. No. Jack of clubs. Jack of clubs. All right, that will do it for us on today's episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, and we'll catch up later.